This is not the country that I grew up in, or that many of you grew up in. Heck, this isn't even the country it was just 3 months ago. We literally have in this country people being disappeared, seemingly off the face of the earth. We have legal residents of this country, people who are legally entitled to be here, being kidnapped off of the streets of America and sent to concentration camps indefinitely in foreign countries run by dictators. No due process, no hearing of any kind. We have American citizens being arrested and thrown in jail illegally, no charges, based on the suspicion, because of the color of their skin or how they look, the suspicion that they're in this country illegally when they are in fact American citizens. Example after example we see of this. I've been talking about some of those examples here on the channel. I've got another example. This is in the New York Times today, about a man just completely disappeared. No one has any idea what happened to him. I want to read just a little of this. Actually, I'll probably read quite a bit of it for you. Again, this was from the New York Times today. In late January, Ricardo Prada Vasquez, a Venezuelan immigrant working in a delivery job in Detroit, picked up an order at a McDonald's. He was headed to the address when he erroneously turned onto the Ambassador Bridge, which leads into Canada. It is a common mistake, even for those who live in the Michigan border city. But for Mr. Prada, 32, it proved fateful. The U.S. authorities took Mr. Prada into custody when he attempted to re-enter the country. He was put in detention and ordered deported. On March 15th, he told a friend in Chicago that he was among a number of detainees housed in Texas who expected to be repatriated to Venezuela. That evening, the Trump administration flew 3 planes carrying Venezuelan migrants from the Texas facility to El Salvador, where they have been ever since, locked up in a maximum security prison and denied contact with the outside world. But Mr. Prada has not been heard from or seen. He is not on the list of 238 people who were deported to El Salvador that day. He does not appear in the photos and videos released by the authorities of shackled men with shaved heads. Quote, "He simply disappeared," said Javier, a friend in Chicago, the last person with whom Mr. Prada had contact. Let me skip ahead here. Have some passages of this highlighted. The matter may be a simple oversight, but it has raised alarm among immigration advocates and legal scholars who say Mr. Prada's case suggests a new level of disarray in the immigration system as officials face pressure to rapidly fulfill President Trump's pledge of mass deportations. While hundreds of thousands, well, let me stop right there. I think that this is an assumption on their part, that this reflects, what does it say? It may be a simple oversight and it suggests a new level of disarray. I think that's an assumption. That implies that this is just a mistake owing to chaos. I don't think we should make that assumption. This may not be a mistake. This may be intentional. Let me continue. While hundreds of thousands of immigrants have been deported under various administrations in recent years, it is extraordinarily unusual for them to disappear without a legal record. This case shocks the conscience, said Stephen Yale Lohr, an immigration scholar at Cornell Law School. Quote, "I have not heard of a disappearance like this in my 40-plus years of practicing and teaching immigration law." He added, quote, "This case represents a black hole where due process no longer exists." Mr. Prada's family has no ability to go to court. His name does not appear on the list of people on the flights, nor does it appear anywhere else in the U.S. government's record-keeping system for immigrants who have been detained or deported. The Venezuelan authorities have also not found any information about him, according to his family. Skipping ahead here. On January 15th, in broad daylight, Mr. Prada found himself on the Ambassador Bridge, a one-way road that connects Michigan to Ontario. At about 1 p.m., he sent Javier a text with a pin of his location. Quote, "Look where I am," he said in the text shared with the Times. He added an emoji of a shocked face. When Javier next heard from his friend, Mr. Prada was at the Calhoun County Correctional Center in western Michigan. Using the CBP One app had allowed him to enter the country once, but he did not have permission to enter a second time and was subject to mandatory detention. Earlier in this story, it talks about how he had gained entrance to this country by using the CBP One app, which the Biden administration had encouraged incoming immigrants to use, those who were requesting asylum, so that there was an orderly process and that they were given legal status, temporary legal status, while their asylum claims could be heard. And so he did everything the right way. He did it the way our government at the time was telling people to do it. So he came in here legally. He had legal status because he claimed asylum. But that allowed him entry one time, but didn't give him permission to re-enter the country. So when he erroneously took the wrong road and then tried to, into Canada and then came back, he didn't have permission to re-enter. Using the CBP One app had allowed him to enter the country once, but he did not have permission to enter a second time and was subject to mandatory detention. The friends stayed in touch, with Javier depositing money into Mr. Prada's account so he could make calls. An immigration judge granted a postponement on February 3rd after Mr. Prada had requested more time to find legal representation. He failed to secure a lawyer, said Javier, and was ordered deported on February 27th. He was transferred to an ICE facility in Ohio and then to the El Valle detention facility in South Texas. He managed to call his child, Alessandro, in the early weeks of detention, according to his mother. Quote, "Ricardo sounded defeated, sad." On March 15th, Mr. Prada phoned Javier and told him that it appeared that repatriations to Venezuela were imminent and that he might be included. Quote, "I told him, tranquilo, everything will be okay," Javier recalled. "I thought he'll be home soon." They assumed that he had, referring to his family here, they assumed that he had been deported to one of the several countries where Venezuelan immigrants had been sent in recent months, including Costa Rica, Mexico, and Honduras. Venezuela had not been accepting deportation flights. But days went by, and no one heard from Mr. Prada. When a list of people who had been sent to the prison in El Salvador surfaced, they thought he might be on it, but he was not. They then contacted a nonprofit organization, Together in Free is the name of it, who help the families of migrants who have been deported find where they had gone, because it's a chaotic system. One of the lawyers for that organization is a man, Mr. Levy. Mr. Levy said that he too had repeatedly tried to obtain information from ICE. Eventually, he said an officer told him that Mr. Prada had been deported, but refused to share further details. "We have done everything to find him," she said. This is referring to someone else from the organization, or from his family, I'm sorry. "If he's in prison, we want to know. We want to know if he is alive." So here was a man who did everything right coming into this country. We have asylum laws. He was escaping Venezuela for a good reason. Tried to claim asylum in the United States. Did so while waiting in Mexico through the app that our federal government told these people to use. He was granted entrance into our country for his asylum claim. He was waiting for his asylum claim to be adjudicated. In that time, while he was waiting, he was given permission to work in this country. He was doing so. He was being productive. There's no criminal record. He's never been arrested here. He was doing what he was supposed to, awaiting his asylum claim to be heard, working. While he's working, as a delivery person, he takes the wrong road, finds himself in Canada, realizes his mistake, tries to come back, and is arrested for illegal entry. Now, no one knows where he is. Apparently, according to this lawyer, an ICE agent said, yes, he has been deported, but we're not going to tell you to where he has been deported. That's why I said earlier in this article that it may be an assumption that this was owing to chaos in our immigration system, chaos in the Trump administration. I don't think we should make that assumption. I don't think the Trump regime deserves the benefit of the doubt that this might just be owing to the chaos of the system, that this was some sort of error that we don't know where he went. We know, what do we know? I mean, let's put it in context of things that we do know. We do know that Donald Trump has an agreement with Bukele of El Salvador to house people that Donald Trump sends there illegally with no due process, to house them indefinitely in that prison camp down there. We do know for a fact that Donald Trump was overheard on videotape. It was on videotape in the Oval Office, speaking to Bukele. It was not meant for public consumption, but he clearly says to him, we need you to build more of these facilities, at least 5 more, because we're going to be sending a lot more people to you. And next, we're going to be sending the homegrowns, meaning American citizens. He wants Bukele to build more prison camps in El Salvador, Trump concentration camps in El Salvador, so that he can send more people, including American citizens. So we know he wants more facilities. Has he maybe made other arrangements for more facilities? Maybe with Bukele, maybe with some other country? Are there facilities that the Trump regime is sending people to that we don't know about? You know, the courts are telling him he can't do this. The courts have instructed him, including the Supreme Court, to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia, who we've been talking about so much lately, from El Salvador. They refuse to do it. Trump refuses to comply. Says he's not going to bring him back. Maybe to get around these meddlesome courts and these lawyers filing lawsuits, maybe we just start sending them to prisons that we don't even tell anybody about. We don't keep any records of where we're sending these people. That way, these lawyers and these families and the courts can't find out anything about them. We're deporting people with no record? Or if you won't provide information to lawyers about where these people have been deported to? And what kind of... You know, Donald Trump, in his first term, referred to certain countries as shithole countries. What kind of shithole country has this become? Where someone who came into this country legally, with permission, had applied for asylum, was working, had a job, had a residence, was doing everything right. He makes a mistake. He takes the wrong turn and comes back into this country. And for that, he's deported? Even putting aside the fact that he's been deported to, we don't even know where. And we have to assume that either he's no longer alive, something has happened to him, or he is in a prison somewhere else. Because if he were not, if he were simply deported, he would have contacted his family. He has a child, I believe the story says, in Venezuela. He has friends. He has family. No one's heard from him. If he were just deported back to Venezuela, he would have contacted family. The fact that we've heard nothing, no one's heard anything from him, means he's either dead. I mean, I think the most logical conclusion is either he is dead or he is in prison, not allowed contact, and we don't even know where that prison is. What kind of a shithole country does that? And you know, you can't exercise any common sense, any decency. We gave this man permission to be here. He was working. He was doing everything right. He made a wrong turn. You can't look at those facts, look him up in the system and say, oh yeah, I can see that you've applied for asylum. Oh yes, I understand. A lot of people make a wrong turn on that road and find themselves in Canada. Your story checks out, you're free to go. Isn't that what a decent society would do in that situation? Yes, they would. But this is not a decent society. Not anymore. At least our government is not. And far too many people in the society are not either, because we have the Fox News audience and people like that, the MAGA cult, who cheer this kind of thing. This is a profoundly indecent society. It is a cruel and lawless society under this regime of Donald Trump. This is being done in our names to these people. Why would anyone come to this country? I talked yesterday about a couple of teenage girls from Germany who came here, went to Hawaii for vacation after their graduation. Arrested at the airport, detained for like 10 days in jail because they hadn't booked they were here legally. They did everything right coming here. All their paperwork checked out. Their crime is that they hadn't booked hotels for the entire time they intended to be in this country. They intended to be here for 5 weeks. They didn't have 5 weeks worth of hotels booked up because they were going to play it by ear. And for that, they found, the authorities there, customs, found that suspicious. So they took those 2 teenage girls, threw them in jail for a week and a half, strip searched them, treated them like shit before deporting them, kicking them out of the country. This is how we treat people now. Welcome to Police State America. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Talk to you again soon.